I'm going to tell you what accessory dwelling units are and why they're really important in your life, especially for Californians and homeowners. But actually, I think this is going to affect all Americans one day. Accessory dwelling unit is a bit of a mouthful, but I'm going to break it down for you so you feel really confident. What it can mean literally, what it does mean in California, and what it means for you if you own a lot with a house on it. And lastly, what it means to you even if you're renting and you don't own a house. ADU stands for Accessory Dwelling Unit. It's a relatively new term. The earliest use when I look it up on Google Books archives is like 1956 in a Rhode Island land use law, and it barely pops up here and there, usually in land use law, often next to terms that seem a bit outmoded, like tenant house and servants' quarters, carriage house. You can see why they wanted a rebrand. But if you break it down, it's pretty simple. Dwelling unit is just a really wordy way to say home, or a place people can live permanently. And we'll add more detail to this later, but for now, dwelling unit equals home. And the first word is accessory. Accessory means it's not primary. Accessory means it's secondary or extra. A lot with one house, the house is the primary dwelling unit. If the owner of that property wants to add a second, extra, accessory dwelling unit, then they need a permit for an ADU. Okay, we'll add one little tidbit. A dwelling unit doesn't have to be a literal house. If you have a lot with a house on it, and that house has a big space like a garage that you don't need, or a basement, you can convert that garage or basement into a second home with its own entrance and amenities, and that can be a secondary dwelling unit. So an accessory dwelling unit is a second home. It's not always a literal house, but it does need to be a place where a person can permanently live. Okay, in California, what's that mean? I'm going to oversimplify a tiny bit, and then we'll get into some more detail. If you need a simple definition of what counts as an ADU in California, it's a secondary home, not the primary home. It's permanent. That means it has a foundation and it's not on wheels. And it's got the city-approved hookup for stove and sink. The state explicitly says that manufactured homes and efficiency units can count as ADUs, and we'll get into what that means. But it's also pretty specific that if you have a tiny house on wheels with no stove hookup, that's not an ADU. Alright, if this seems like a weird new term for a very old, simple concept, that's because it is. People have had granny flats, in-law suites, lane houses, and so on for a long time. In Downton Abbey, when Carson moves to the house on the property, I'm counting that as an ADU. But for now, that's the definition. Okay, now why does this matter to you? Why should you care about this weird technical term in California land use and city planning? Because it's going to drastically change your cost of living over the next 10 years. If you own a house, then you need to know your ADU rights, or you're unintentionally missing out on a potential income stream. If you don't own a house, this still affects you because you're probably renting somewhere, and ADUs, once they gain traction, will change the rental market forever. And as humans who live in a community, ADUs affect everybody. They're the most interesting way to increase housing without overburdening our suburban and urban infrastructure, and I'm not going to go on a nerdy rant right now, but trust me, it's really important. Let's get back to the first two things. Okay, what about renters? You're watching this and you understand why homeowners should know about ADUs. They're going to get rich. They put a bit of money down a day, or the bank does, and this homeowner then rents out the property for hundreds or thousands of dollars a month. But what about renters? How is this going to affect the majority of Californians who do not own their homes? California has a severe housing shortage, and it's getting worse every year. The state government has put out numbers that indicate that we need to build over 100,000 homes a year just to keep up with demand. That's not to improve the situation. It's 170,000 just to stop worsening the housing shortage. And that's why rents are getting out of control. ADUs are our ticket as a society to bring the housing supply back up. In cities like Portland and Vancouver, where ADUs have gained a lot of traction, we see that their rental rates per square foot are much more affordable than apartment units in the same area. That's attributed to a lot of ADU-specific traits and benefits. They're much cheaper to build than multifamily apartment buildings. They have less strain on infrastructure like roads and parking than big suburban complexes. What I'm trying to say here is that whether you're a homeowner or a home renter, ADUs are going to have a huge impact on all of our lives. And at How to ADU, we want to accelerate that by providing free resources and some paid resources and advice too to help people build their ADUs all up and down California. We want to solve the housing shortage by helping homeowners build their wealth and build their community at the same time. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. It means you're interested in what we're talking about. ADUs are coming, and if we do it in the right way, we have a chance to really change California for the better. If you want to be a part of that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, check out the website, howtoadu.com, and let me know. Let me know you're out there. We can make a really big difference with these new ADU laws, and I can't wait.